The sector trends tracker, for those of you who are not familiar with it, has been running for about 12 years. And it is described by government as validating other issues. A lot of the points raised in forum trackers are similar to we hear from other PBS firms around skills, use of tech, AI, stability and regulation. It's thus useful to see the tracker as validating these issues. We use such information anonymously to feed into relevant policy discussions taking place across government about the views of the sector. And that was an email that was sent to me by the DBT back in January. And I said I was a bit depressed. I only got 98% of the 90 members to complete this one because 2 people were on holiday, which happens, but but life moves on. So let's just have a look at what was coming out. The index that we create, which is we call it the confidence index. It's the net of expansion and contraction in projected levels of activity over the next year. So it's not a financial metric, it's an activity-based metric. And what's quite clear from that is there has been an uptick since 3 months ago in that level of confidence from 78% back in March, April to 83%, which is about as high as it's been since way back in 21. So when the sort of everybody thought, oh, the pandemic's over, great. So that's quite interesting. But there's often another side. What isn't growing as fast is headcount. So headcount is not expected to expand as fast of activity levels. In fact, if you take the net of blue, which is expansion, and red, which is contraction, it's at 50%. So if you like 83% expected to expand activity, only 50% expect to expand headcount. So is this what's once called a jobless recovery? I'm not sure. I don't think it's that strong, but clearly there are trends which are suggesting there's a focus possibly on efficiency. So why might that be? Well, there are fee pressures are increasing. That's the orange one. Margins are eroding. That's the blue one. There's a poor economic outlook. That's the purple one. And only then do you come to things. In fact, marketing is hardly even there. Lack of client instruction. So the things are not really, if you like, it's very much an internal focus, I think, is what we're seeing here. But over things that really you don't have a huge amount of control over, which is quite strange. And possibly to say the same point, operational efficiency, I'm looking forward to Debbie's input shortly, remains the top priority. It's a little bit fallen back. That's the blue one. It's fallen back a little bit since the last quarter, but developing commerciality has picked up a little bit. Technology has fallen away, as has developing skills, as has developing strategy. And the one that's actually come up is the whole area of exploiting niches. So it's a little bit of a mixed picture, but if you just take the top one, the operational, that is the top priority. There's not much doubt about that. This one is quite interesting. One of the questions we've been asking for, oh gosh, a year or two now is, how are you guys doing? To what extent are you on track with success compared with your key clients? And the firm is the red one, and surprisingly, possibly not. We're doing okay. We're doing better than our clients. This is key clients, by the way, not just any clients. But the gap at the last iteration in the last few weeks is down to 7%. So there's clearly a recognition that now does that see, but the clients are about the same, but the firm has dropped away. So they're kind of saying, yeah, we're going to grow. We're focusing. We're doing all these good things. But the word that's missing, I think, is marketing, communications. How are you actually going to win that work? You can't grow. And you think your clients are doing better if your focus is purely internal. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in the panel session. This is quite interesting. I haven't asked this question before. It's something that was raised by somebody. We've been tracking for some time to what extent has remote working increased productivity at our firm. And this time round, I actually put in a question, to what extent has it decreased productivity? And what you'll see is that the decreased productivity, which is the green one, is 1% higher than the blue, which is the increase, and 57%, it's neither nor. So I'm kind of strained. I think all we can really say is that remote working is unlikely to be part of the solution. I think that's probably the way I would put it. So the thing we did this time, and it was the first time we'd done it with this group, which was in about 12 years, that was exciting, was we wanted to find out to drill down a bit more into some of the key themes on so we asked them, which is the most important theme for your firm? Now, there were 4 that we had identified, and this was based on a another survey we did with another group, again of similar people, and what came out was there were 4 areas that were seen to be the most important for the firm: sustainability, AI, training, and innovation. And as you can see from the chart, the 2 that were seen by this the Sector Trends Tracker Research Panel as being the most important were innovation and training, with sustainability coming in quite a long way behind, and AI somewhere in between the 2. And again, AI is new, but everybody's talking about it. But actually, training and innovation are still the ones that seem to be the most important. So let's not sort of nice, new, shiny objects and all the rest. This one's a little bit more complicated, but why, we asked? Well, there were 5 things we said. We think that this is something that our clients will expect us to deploy in our interactions with them, and AI was a bit lower on that one. Investing in it will help our firm grow market share. Pretty much all of them were up into the high 90s. It's a critical part of our growth strategy, same sort of numbers. It will result in increased productivity, and possibly, unsurprisingly, sustainability isn't really seen as adding much to productivity. And that's the case whether it was amongst the frontline advisors or the business services teams. So broadly, why are those important themes? Because of their perceived contribution to growth, productivity, and client satisfaction. And if those aren't key drivers for most firms, then I suspect they won't be in business forever. However, one of the things we then looked at was, okay, across those 4 areas, sustainability, AI, training, and innovation, to what extent are you certain? I've called them best practice. I didn't use that term in the survey because people might misinterpret it, but they were in reality a set of best practices that some experts had provided. So sustainability is 70%. So across those best practice activities, 70% are in place, and then there's a small dribble. When it comes to AI, it's a much, much lower number in place. And there's also quite a big chunk with purple, which says no plans to implement. So people are kind of being not necessarily going full best practice for AI. Training, which is fascinating. I think there must be a bit of a disconnect between what's going on in the training area and the CEO, because 17% of CEOs should know what's going on in the training area across certain key practices, and we'll explore those in a minute. 49% in place now, and then a bit of a spread. And when it comes to innovation, this is the one that kind of surprised me. Only 41% of those best practices are in place, and 11% likely the rest of the year, likely to implement 30. So there were a few interesting elements that came out of looking at that part. So this is very, very busy. So I won't, you will get the, obviously the full infographic. But what's quite clear to me was that when it comes to training, the area which is not given a lot of attention is at the outset of a learning initiative. There's lots of people recognizing some informal learning and delegates getting feedback and all the rest. But when it comes to learning transfer embedded in the design, or data analytics embedded design, you're looking in below 20% of the firms have got that in place. But there's also 37% who don't know anything about the learning transfer, and 22 who don't know anything about data analytics. So it may be this data is misleading, but it's going on in the background, but the CEO doesn't know about it, which may not be a good thing either. When it comes to the whole area of innovation, and I know Debbie's going to have some views on this as well, 55% culture of innovation fostered. That's the only one of all those best practices where more than half of the firms that complete it and this are actually currently it's in place, the blue bit. And there's a fair chunk in purple as you go down. And what are the purple ones? There's the budget for innovation, 20%. No, we don't want one of those. Define processes for innovation, 17%. We don't want that. Clients drive innovation investment choices, 14%. We don't want that. Documented innovation strategy, 24%. We don't want that. Now, I don't know how you can be serious about innovation if you don't actually have an innovation strategy, which is documented and shared. I think that is a really weird thing to happen. Yet, and this is the bit that's kind of scary, most firms rate their firm ahead of their peers. 5 would be the average. So what extent do you think your firm is taking a market-leading approach to developing and deploying the themes? And AI is still above 5, which is the midpoint, but the others are all 6.1. So is this the rest of the sector really further behind? Or because there's some quite key issues that have emerged from that. So just to recap, because I know we're about to go into the panel session, confidence index is back above 80, with headcount not expected to expand as fast as activity levels. Fee pressures are increasing and margins are eroding, yet operational efficiency remains the top priority, and the perceived on-track gap with key clients is narrowing. Remote working has had a limited impact on productivity. Innovation and training are seen as the most important themes due to their perceived contribution. Best practice is not fully implemented for any theme, with limited focus on the outset of learning and on a comprehensive innovation infrastructure. Yet most rate their firm ahead of its peers. How realistic, I end with, is this assessment?